What's going on, YouTube? Hey, it's Ben. Thanks so much for checking out my channel, you guys. I truly appreciate you guys that have subscribed already. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe right now. This is the channel where we talk about business, entrepreneurship, creating a recruiting agency, which is the best thing in the world right now. In my opinion, it's the greatest business to be in. So if you like all that and you think that's going to be awesome for you and valuable, please subscribe, smash the like button while you're at it, and let's get into today's video. So today is a long time coming. I wanted to talk about this and I finally have gotten to it, so I'm gonna dive right in. So resume reading. So once you get your clients and once you find out who you're going to be servicing, you're going to be getting candidates for those clients, right? We all know how that goes. So once you get these candidates, one of the main aspects of identifying a good candidate versus a bad candidate is the resume. It's usually the first thing you see when a candidate applies, whether it's on Indeed or Craigslist or wherever it might be, you're reading a resume first. And this is the first impression of a candidate, but it need not be the last. So you need to know exactly how to interpret resumes so that you can be a master at identifying, a gem that's, full of dirt and might have a bad resume, but might be an awesome candidate. Because oftentimes that's the case. A lot of times you'll get people that are lazy, they just have a really bad resume set up and they've just been shooting it out, not updating it. Maybe someone's older, getting back into the workforce, they haven't updated their resume for like years potentially, who knows. Or maybe people just don't know how to form resumes properly, and that happens all the time. You'd be surprised. So there's basically two criteria I look at when I look at resumes. Number one, how is the resume formatted? Number two, I look at the actual content and like what's in the resume, like the actual verbiage, content, and like the jobs and the job descriptions, the history, the timestamps from when they worked where, etc., etc. Now, hopefully, a lot of that is going to align with the actual position that they're applying for with you, but you never know, right? So it's kind of a grab bag when you get resumes. However, I want to be clear. You should not judge the candidate strictly on their resume. Sometimes a resume will come over and it'll look like complete crap. However, you should get on the phone with the candidate if the resume looks halfway decent and have a conversation. There are exceptions, and I'm going to screen share right now and show you exactly how I judge resumes. I'm going to show you three particular resumes. One that I think is great, perfect, fine for a general labor position. One that I think is super mediocre, and I really don't even have a clue what this guy was thinking when he sent it over to me. It could be a better resume, but it's not a good resume. And then I'm going to show you the worst resume that I've ever received in my life. So let's hop into my computer and I'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, so if you aren't halfway asleep, you'll realize that we are looking at my computer screen internally right now, checking out some resumes. And the first thing I want to do is go over what I deem to be one of the better resumes that I've ever seen. So I see a lot of resumes. So for any given position that I'm filling, there's probably 10 people, 15 people applying at minimum for that role, and I'm going to go over all of their resumes because that's what you do as a recruiter. You're getting paid to basically, filter out resumes, have phone screens, and then eventually send over the candidates. So there's a lot of important things you need to remember when you do this. You need to read resumes properly. You need to interpret what the person has actually put on their resume, and then call them and discuss the resume and make sure that you're getting everything right so that you send over the proper candidates and you don't make yourself look like a fool. The last thing you want to do is make yourself look like a fool. So you want to send over really good resumes, and there's lots of ways to make sure that you do that. So this is an example of judging resumes. So this first resume I'm showing you right now, obviously heavily redacted because I'm not going to give this person's personal information out, but this is a good resume, okay? Up here basically has their name, their address, their phone number, and their email. Perfect information to have at the top of someone's resume. That's excellent. An objective, secure long-term full-time employment with a progressive company, blah, blah, blah. Great, have an objective. I mean, this might just be fluff, but nonetheless, it just looks good. Work history. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to know next. Nobody cares about anything else except your information and your work history, and that it's formatted properly, which this is. So work history, he's worked at such and such company, and he describes exactly what he did. So that's awesome. He also provides here references that I've redacted to the exact manager that he reported to at that position. Second position that he puts down here, he puts when he worked there. He worked there for a year. He has a reference. The company name is here. He even put everything that he did there. That's awesome. He worked at Oh Boy Oberto Sausage Company, which is in Seattle. That's awesome. Well, this is the Kent location. But anyways, he put the time when he worked there. He put exactly what he did there. He had 2 positions there. He put exactly what he did in each position. Perfect. He worked for this company. He notated that it was seasonal because it looks like, it was over a long period of time. So he wanted to make sure that you know that this was a seasonal role for him. He put where it was at. Also, he has a reference there, told you exactly what he's doing. He pretty much puts this on every single job that he's done, all the way back to, his earliest positions ever. Then at the bottom, he reiterates the same references that he's put on all of his positions. This is perfectly formatted. All of the jobs align. They say exactly what they're doing, what he did, his skills, all of the keywords are here, so you can kind of read and say, oh, okay, he's experienced in this. He's been promoted to this. He's done USDA inspection. He's worked seasonal this. He's worked with aeration and thatch. He knows landscaping. He even puts that he's a stay-at-home dad on his resume, and he identifies that between this period and this period, this is what he did. Very fair to do that. Putting super cool keywords like reading blueprints, staking areas, operating a trencher. I mean, these are identifiable tasks that we would need. I think this was for a general labor position that involves some sort of kind of like a grunt work type position. I really forget, honestly, because this is a while back, but this is a perfect resume, okay? Perfectly simple and formatted, great. All right, nothing wrong with this resume at all. I would definitely call this guy, have a chat with him, go over the resume line by line, make sure that, of course, he's, a reasonable person, someone that I would want to send over. Great resume. Now let me show you what I would call a mediocre resume that could be great, but is not. So obviously this is heavily redacted, and the first thing I want to bring to your attention is that this person identified their address as a P.O. box. Of course, I redacted the P.O. box number, but let's be real, who the hell puts a P.O. box resume on, or P.O. box address on your resume? That is ridiculous. His name is up here, his P.O. box address is on here, his phone number was on here, his email is below. This is, okay, cool, whatever. Why do you have a P.O. box on your resume? Weird. Education. So you have an MBA from the University of Redacted in 1979. Okay, that's cool. You're letting me know that you've got your degree in 1979. All right. And you've let me know that you got a BA in Japanese Language University. Okay, cool. No big deal. And then we go down to experience. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. So we're talking to this person right now about a general labor position. I think it was either in driving or warehousing distribution. Now, they say they worked at somewhere for Cedar and Lumber, and they were working in sales of lumber and sundries. I don't exactly know what sundries is. It's probably in the lumber industry. Anywho, this has absolutely nothing to do with what we're doing. This is a sales role that he did for 2 years, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the distribution industry. In 2015, he worked for Home Depot as a garden department associate. Doesn't exactly tell me. I guess it's 1 year. Okay, fair enough. Normally you would want to put, a year to another year. If you're being really, really cool, you'll put the month and the year, and then the month and the year that you quit. But he just puts 1 year and Home Depot garden associate. Cool. All right, still not applicable because you have no information about whether you drove a forklift, did you use a truck. I'm guessing you were an associate, which means that you just sold. So this is a very mediocre resume. We're going to go down here and we're going to go to 2010 to 2014. So for 4 years, this person was in OCE Business Services at the Canon Group. They were a maintenance and facilities technician. I would love a nice little paragraph below here describing what that means, because it sounds like you probably went around and possibly fixed people's printers. Not quite applicable to the distribution industry, so we're going to pretty much move on to previous experience, although there's already a section entitled experience. So I'm not quite sure where we dive into previous experience, but nonetheless, that's where we're at. In this individual's previous experience, they were a CEO at a redacted company in Seattle, Washington. So this CEO somehow fixed printers all around Washington, probably, for Canon, then became an associate at Home Depot, then was in lumber sales. Just ponder that for a minute. CEO. They were previously the VP of manufacturing at Phillips Industries in California. Looks like they moved away from the Washington area for a while. No idea how long they were a CEO. No idea how long they were a VP of manufacturing. No idea how long they were the materials manager at Siemens Medical Instruments. All of which, again, has nothing to do with warehouse and distribution. Again, I think this was literally a forklift driver position. Distribution manager at Scholastic Book Company. Okay, well, great. Distribution, all right, maybe you did something related to forklift. I would like a nice little paragraph down here, kind of be, interesting to find out how you were a distribution manager and what you did in that position. Other functions performed: buyer, production planner, cost accounting, and payroll. Wow, so it looks like you've basically done everything under the sun, including being the CEO of a company, which is just fairly interesting from CEO down to these, positions here. This resume is also very short. It's in bad format, and it's very, very contradictory. You have an MBA, you have someone that was a CEO, they were then at Home Depot as a garden associate. This could be a $250,000 a year job. This is a $15 an hour job. I'm not quite sure where the disconnect was or what happened, but this is a very, very mediocre resume. I did try calling this individual. They did not answer, and I basically kind of expected that they wouldn't answer anyways, just because this resume seems so off and so odd. So I titled this mediocre, could be great. Reason being is because they could just rearrange a ton of this stuff, add some timestamps here, maybe add some paragraphs and add some other things that would be relevant, and explain that they've used like tools like forklift and, maybe drove a box truck or something, things that are actually in the job description for what I was looking for, but they didn't. So this is probably an older person that hadn't updated their resume. Again, I don't practice ageism at all, but update your resume. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. You need an updated resume that's relevant and looks proper, like this resume does here, the first one that I showed you. Let me show you at last the worst resume that I have ever seen in my entire life. So I'm going to basically just give it to you straight. I spoke with this individual over email. They had emailed me about a position. It was, I think, a distribution forklift position. These are the three resumes I'm looking at for the same type of role. They told me they did not have a resume. I responded by saying, well, we can't interview you unless you do have a resume, so we're going to need you to get a resume. They proceeded to forward me this document. And I feel like I don't even need to speak right now. But as you can see, this is a resume template. Pure and simple. This is a resume template that someone would remove information and put their own information instead of 123 your street, your city, street 12345. No reply, example.com, your name, creative director, skills, experience, company name, company name, company name. So yeah, this is a resume template. This person literally forwarded this to me after I requested a resume from them. I said, I need a resume from you. Could you send me a resume? And this is what they sent to me. I just want to put it out there that there are people out there like this that will do something like this. And no, they were not joking. They absolutely did believe that this was what I needed. They followed up with me and they said, I sent you my resume. When can I have an interview? Yeah, that never happened. The interview never happened. So great resume, perfectly formatted right here, perfect, nothing wrong with it. Definitely a good quality candidate. A resume that could be good, but really weird. And the worst resume I have ever seen, considering that it is not a resume at all. So at any rate, I'm going to hop back out and see you guys on the other side. All right, guys. So I know that last resume was probably super painful to look at if you know anything about resumes, but I had to show it to you. It was an absolute must. Literally the worst resume I've ever received, considering it was not even a resume, but that individual thought that they were sending me a resume. Again, lesson learned: when you receive something like that, you cease all communication. That's not a candidate you want to represent or send to your client. To be honest with you, and quite frank and ruthless, I don't really care if it was a mistake or not. It was so egregious that I would not entertain speaking with the individual. So at any rate, just to recap, there's two elements I look at in resumes: the formatting and the actual content and verbiage of the resume. Hopefully it's relevant and specific to the job that they are applying for. With those two things intact, like the first resume that I showed you, with references especially, if someone's always willing to provide references up front, that means they're really truthful and honest. Hopefully the references are legitimate and they are actually people you can call because they've provided them to you. So that's how I judge resumes. Those are just 3 resumes, right? I could probably do an hour-long video on this, but resume reading is a skill that you can acquire. It's not something that you might have off the bat. A lot of times people can trick you with resumes. They can embellish their resumes very heavily, which means that basically when you look at a resume, you need to kind of identify the criteria they put in their resume, and then you need to couple that with the phone call and kind of rub the resume against them and find out what's truthful and what's not, because it'll come out on the phone, believe me. So resume reading, resume judging, that's how I kind of do it, and that's that. So that's all I wanted to convey today, guys. I will catch you tomorrow on Tuesday. Hope you're having an awesome start to your week, and I hope that was of some value. If so, smash the like button, and if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. All right, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Later.